But weirdly that happened. Like I kind of was like, what direction am I going in now? Like where do I want to go? Because I was so focused on someone else.
Sometimes starting a new chapter is exactly that, changing your environment. If you're still in the same environment, sometimes you're always going to get the same results because the systems are in place, or the people around you, or that company or organization or whatever it is that you're in doesn't support your vision.
So whenever it comes to, for example, management coming to me with some great opportunity, let's say for some reason or another that company is associated with a fast fashion brand, and they're not doing the best things in terms of the way that they produce their products or whatever, and it doesn't align with how I like society to be or how I envision one day having a brand to be, I won't want to work with that, because I know what my values are and I know what aligns with me. Because when you deviate from those things, for me, it really plays with your why, and it really can affect, in today's day and age, your mental health. Because you look back and someone asks you, well, why did you do that? Oh, I did it for money. Welcome back, people, to Teddy Talks. I am Teddy Soares here, and I have my lovely brother here,
Sidney Soares. Good to be here.
Yes, I'm happy to be here as well with this lovely drink again. Cheers, Sidney.
Thank you. Cheers. What are we drinking today?
We are drinking the same as last time, actually, Remy Martin.
Martin.
We do like, we didn't actually talk about this last time, but we do actually like Remy Martin. Remy Martin is our go-to chill drink. We're actually supposed to have the glass warmed up. I'm going to blame Amazon for this because we're still waiting for delivery on the actual mechanism. So the glass sits like this and it burns. But the podcast isn't about alcohol.
We drink responsibly.
We drink very, very responsibly. And this is also a podcast that we, as much as we're drinking responsibly, we want to tap into the minds, empowering the body, the spirit, and just talking about our life's experiences, which we hope would resonate with you guys and maybe give you a different perspective on what's going on in your lives and what you're seeing out there in the world as well. Maybe a bit of clarity as well, who knows? But last time we had some wonderful quotes and some wonderful acts of gratitude, and this time round, I want to get to your quote first because I like to talk too much sometimes and I forget about you. So let's start with your quote this time, Sidney.
You talk a lot sometimes. But yeah, thank you for giving me the floor. The quote that inspired me yesterday when I was thinking about, okay, what are we gonna do tomorrow? I was scrolling through the list of quotes in my bank, and this one really stuck out to me. It says, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, explore, dream, discover. It's by H. Jackson Brown Jr. I don't even know who the guy is, but yeah, well done, bro.
Who is H. Jackson Brown? Who?
H. Jackson Brown Jr. Yeah, I mean, people, if you know who this guy is, you follow his, his written content, please send us a few DMs about this one or leave some comments about who this guy is, what is he about, and what inspired him to write a quote like this, because this inspired me.
Why did it touch you? Because it sounds like it really hit home. That's a long one as well, right?
Yeah, it's a long one. I do like the short and snappy ones, but I definitely won't be able to reel this one off without looking at my iPad. But the reason why it struck a chord with me is because I feel like I'm like, if I was to divide my life up into phases or stages, I feel like I'm in an exploration stage. I'm in that phase of trying new things and if I were to be more specific about it, in the past year or so, in the previous episode, we talked about, my journey within the realms of coaching and exploring neurolinguistic programming and what that has meant to me and what I've done with it and what I want to do. But outside of that, there's been other things too. And I started recording music. And, if I was to look at my 12 or 13-year-old self and think about what he wanted, I know deep down, I did have a thing for music that I didn't really explore.
What was it?
Yeah.
I can't lie. 13-year-old Ted didn't know about that.
Yeah, but I did. Do you know? You didn't.
I know we enjoyed music. We always used to walk to school playing the songs, and we were those kids that had the hoods up because we came from Harleston, and that was just a thing for some reason. But we had our hoodies up, went to the posh old Buckinghamshire, and started blaring the streets with music with our phones. Where did these kids come from?
The kids came from the hood. That's what I gave. No, but shout out to Harleston though. That was a good time.
Yeah,
good time. But no, if you really think about it, like without thinking about what I was pursuing in my life at the time, which was I wanted to get high-level grades because I wanted to become a doctor, and there was these other things that I was flirting with. But if you really think about it, there was moments where I would make my own raps, and I'd record with my cousin Valentine at the time, and even back then, I remember in school my thinking about this gives me jokes. So I even remember my name at the time. I don't even know why I chose this name, but my name was Shade.
Mine was no better. It was Teddy B, but
Teddy B, yeah. You even had the Teddy B hat.
I'd wear that name.
Yeah,
now.
it was good.
Actually,
It was a good one.
Yeah.
That's your actual name though. So it's fine.
So it's clever.
It's fine.
I'm not sure about Shade.
Yeah. I mean, you, if you're coming up against me, you should be shook because that means I was coming with the shade. There's no sunshine when I'm in the room. You should be worried.
No sunshine.
You should be worried.
I'm in the room.
But yeah, I think there was, and actually when I even got flashes of memory coming to me right now, I remember being a young kid and, showing, I think mommy would have picked up the fact that I've got an interest in music. And I remember mommy buying me one of those, remember back in the day, you could get those CD players / karaoke kind of things.
Yeah, you put the headphones in and you're like, it's
wired. So you get an actual microphone and I remember I used to love experimenting around with that. And even those moments when we used to go to Auntie Ada's place and hang out with Jesse, and all of us would be in a living room. There'll be that moments where daddy and mommy's there, all of us are there, and we're vibing, listening to music, dancing, and that was making my heart sink at the time. And I remember at the time I could see that when you can get glimmers of yourself into the future of art. I believe that could be possible for me if I try. And I think obviously over time, and maybe a lot of people can relate to this too, is that your voice begins to get dulled by certain situations. And growing up where we grew up in London, we hopped around from different places from Southeast, and then obviously growing up in Harleston, the whole notion of being in the music industry was also associated with gang crime, or
Hmm.
why are you doing that when
Sex and all this kind of stuff.
all
Drugs
these
and
toxic elements,
Mhm.
which are naturally, it's, you hear some of these things in the songs, but there's the media also is a catalyst
Yeah, of
that
course.
constantly puts a spotlight on that sort of energy. And you also have your role models in your personal life who are saying that you should be pursuing, if you come from an African or, an Asian family, people are going to be saying to you that you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer, you should be an engineer, so you
I'll let Auntie catch you doing
yeah. So there would have been a lot of reasons why I didn't pull that thread and just explore it and see, okay, what would have Shade become, if he carried on. Back then, we were into the whole Lord of the Mics, and that's when Lord of the Mics.
Oh
was-
my gosh. Yeah, those freestyles that Tim Westwood would just literally give someone the opportunity, get on the mic. What's his name? I feel like Wiley was bringing through a lot of people.
Chip and Ice Kid.
Yeah, like bringing through a lot of the youngsters, the OGs of grime. But so how does, so that my mind isn't lost in the source of everything you just said. So how does your quote relate to
why I'm on an exploration stage now? So I went deeper into where my interest in music came from, and I'm come full circle with myself, where I know that I was really interested in music as a youngster, but I'm exploring it now as an adult, and I'm really enjoying it.
Why do you think it took that time delay? Because obviously you are late 20s, give or take, without giving your age away. But
I'm 29. I'm 29.
so
Let
you're
everyone know.
29. You're 29. So why did it take time for you to get to that moment of, you know what, I want to explore this? Because what people don't know about you is that you're very intelligent. You're very witty. You've got a lot of I don't know. You've just got how I would look at a freestyle person. I would like to think you've got the mental capacity to freestyle and just wordplay. So from a young age, that's like you always had a high IQ and whatnot. So why now is the question that I'm asking.
Yeah, when now is probably the worst time to ever do it. You never see an artist start off as an adult, right? Someone grows into that. I think it's because I don't care as much as I did when I was younger. I don't care about what people think as much anymore, and I'm more curious about discovering possibilities rather than the fear, like rather than welcoming. What I'm doing now, actually, this will actually capture what I'm trying to say better. Every time I come across a situation that makes me feel scared, I try and face that head on now. Because every time I have done that, it makes me feel like I've conquered something. And every time I'm in the studio session, with one of my boys, particularly called D, and we push each other just in that particular moment. It could just be like he's come over, to my spot, or come over to his spot, and we make music there and then in the moment. Like we write the bars there and then in the moment. We pick the beat there and there in the moment. And I just love that challenge of being able to create something in the moment and just see what happens, whether it's good or bad, and being able to just enjoy that whole process of putting it together. And I'm also finding it therapeutic. So some of the things that I'm writing down, it's almost like I'm writing in a diary, because sometimes I can see myself, although it might come across like I'm talking about someone or talking to someone, a lot of the things are things that I'm just thinking about. So they could just be things that I'm either talking to myself or things that I've just observed and I've just chose to talk about it. And I'm enjoying that whole process of, like you said, wordplay, putting it all together into a story, but also just enjoying and vibing and just making music. And, everyone has, a particular hobby where they just get lost in time, where, you just don't think about what you're doing too much and you just let go. And I feel like that's one of the things where I just let go and I just feel relaxed.
No, I'm glad. I'm really glad about that, because I think a lot of people get stuck in not being able to get comfortable with doing things that make them feel uncomfortable as well. Because I can imagine where where without putting words into your mouth, where you have such a high taste for certain things in terms of music, and what music you like, you'd potentially would get yourself in a mind frame of, oh, what if I record and it doesn't sound how I want it to sound? What if I record and people think it's not that great? But like you quite rightly said earlier on, it's not necessarily not caring, because I'm sure you care about your output and you care about what goes into it, i.e. the quality, the beat, the music, the production of the song. You care about the nuances of the things that you're producing, but you don't care about the negative opinions of people that might say, oh, I think you should do it like this, because actually, I don't think that sounds quite good. But actually, you're taking advice from someone that's never ever done it before and doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. It's just it's just an opinion. It's not necessarily a Simon Cowell telling you that this will sound good, and then suddenly you start making millions off music.
yeah.
It's not. It's there's levels to it, and I think a lot of people could potentially get value in the fact that you can just do sometimes, especially when it comes to doing something that you love. Just really embrace it. And sometimes, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can imagine when you were in the room somewhere, you would have just been writing. Nobody would have known that you're writing. Nobody would have known what you're doing, but you kept that moment to yourself, right? I mean, is that something that
there's a
can relate
particular
to?
moment that came into my mind immediately as you said that. So back in 2014, it's summer 2014, it was the World Cup in Brazil, and I went to Brazil with my friend called Oscar, and at the time, this is really rewinding the clock. So we managed to get a sponsorship from so basically we were going to I was at this grammar school. I wasn't always a grammar school boy, by the way. I got into there for sixth form, just to clarify. Let's just clarify that. Probably was just
I did
saying
not
this,
go to this grammar school,
this is one
people.
of
I
those
just want to
preppy
make, I
boys.
want to make that
Nah.
one clear as well.
Yeah.
I did not go to this grammar school.
It didn't work like that. We'll get into that later. But anyway, just for the
No, I want to
context,
clarify this. This was sixth form.
this was for sixth form.
This was sixth form.
It was a
Because we don't need
requirement.
to let
It was
people
one
be
of my
confused about
requirements
this.
to pursue medicine at the time. So I did what I needed to
Yeah,
do.
you had to level up.
I had to level
basically.
up.
You
I
had
had to
to
level up. But anyway, as I was saying, right, there was a sponsorship up for grabs from one of the old boys who wanted to give back to the younger generation, and we just needed to put together reasons why we deserve this sponsorship, and we got, Oscar and I got the sponsorship, and we were able to go to Brazil, and we timed it for the World Cup 2014. And so I got there, and whirlwind of experiences, but we can talk about that another time. I was on a bus I remember I was on the bus with Oscar, and we were heading somewhere. I can't remember. Maybe we were heading back to the accommodation we were staying, or we were going to a new location. And Brazil, I was just in awe of everything, everything that encapsulated my experience, being like the people that are there, the weather, just
Culture,
the
the
culture,
food, I can
the
imagine.
barbecues, and me being single. It's okay me saying this now. The women were just.
You said it's
okay me
saying Before it's like, no, I didn't see anything.
I didn't-
No,
yeah,
no,
no,
no, no,
yeah,
no, no. I
no,
just,
yeah,
I
exactly.
just saw football.
Yeah, just saw football. I
The
was
World
on-
Cup.
Yeah, the World Cup. I was just, and also just to clarify, I was single then too. But yeah, there was a lot of insight that was inspiring what I wanted to do, and there was just this huge rush when I was in the bus. I was like, let me just write some bars down. And the tune, I remember at the time, I didn't even still now, I'm still a huge J. Cole fan. At the time, I was listening to Born Sinner a lot.
Oh, tune.
Born
Oh
Sinner
my
a lot.
God.
And the Born Sinner album, there was a particular tune called Is She Gone Pop? Is She Gone Pop? And I was really loving the instrumental to that one. And I was like, do you know what? Let me just write some bars to this instrumental. And it was just flowing. It was just flowing.
You wrote some wait, let me just get this straight. So you wrote the first track you decided to write some bars on was, of all people, one of J. Cole's tunes, yeah?
Not
some easy instrumental from the internet.
Like what audacity is so silly.
I love that.
No, but let's slow down. I tried writing bars before.
Okay.
But this was one of the moments that came to me when you asked me, when did this sort of thing
You
happen?
emphasize the word tried.
Tried, yeah. No,
Yeah.
tried. But you know what? When I listen back to that one, I actually
You thought it was lit.
I actually think it was okay. Maybe
Yeah.
one day I'll share it with everyone, and you can, you
Yeah,
can
because
tell
I
me
was
to
just about to
pieces.
say, I don't remember you sharing it with anyone.
Oh, I'll
so.
play it to you later. I think in my life. But yeah, that was just a moment where I felt inspired, and then I just let loose. I just decided to let that feeling run through me, and instead of blocking it and saying, why should I write? I'm not a rapper. I'm not a rapper. I'm not a poet. I'm not an artist. I'm not a musician. Who says so? And who says you can't be whatever you want to be? And why do you only have to identify as one thing? Why can't you be a brother as well as an artist, as well as a CEO, as well as anything that you want to do? Who makes up these invisible rules?
Completely agree.
Yeah. So, and then it's just got me thinking about you, right? Because you've transitioned into the limelight, and you get told a lot of things by a lot of people, whether it is team around you or people you meet, strangers, the audience, when they're giving you feedback on some of the content that you post, or romantic relationships that you choose to be in. You get a lot of input.
Hey, that was plural, bro. One relationship.
One relationship. No, that's it. So you've so just to clarify, you're completely single right now?
Oh yeah, I'm single. I'm
Okay,
single.
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
let me
yeah.
let me get that one straight
Yeah.
for the record, guys. I'll look you straight in the eye.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
But as I was saying, you deal with a lot. So how have you been able to navigate through all of that? Because there's a lot of people saying that you should do this, you should do that. And there's also a voice in your mind which tells you what you want.
Yeah.
So how do you take things constructively versus, actually, that doesn't serve me at all?
Yeah, I think for me, what's important on a day to day is setting intentions. I try not to get bogged down too much on the fact that I have got, over 1 million followers across all my platforms. That can be quite daunting. And the crazy thing is, you can sometimes you put yourself in a situation where you think you're the most important person in the world, and you forget that actually, you're not the only person that's got 1 million followers. There is, Ronaldo, who's got 400 and whatever million followers. Imagine the kind of pressures he has to go through. Yet he seems like someone that's completely authentically himself and doesn't, give a damn about, what someone tries to tell him what to do. And it's not, what Ronaldo says goes, right? I mean, take that with a pinch of salt. But I can imagine from I can only speak for myself. And for me, when I'm setting intentions, it allows me to do things knowing that if I'm going to work with a brand, there's a reason why I'm working with that brand. If I'm gonna speak on social media, there's a reason why I'm doing that. It's because I'm setting an intention on what I want to put out there. So, like your music, for example's sake, you're not necessarily writing music for shits and giggles. You're writing it because, as you were saying, you're putting certain emotions on paper, and you are delivering some form of wordplay around that emotion. It's how you're delivering that message. But ultimately, the intention stays the same. The messaging stays the same. The underlying undertone. If someone was to say, Sydney, why did you say that? You would be able to relate exactly why you are saying certain things. So it's the same thing for me. Like, whatever I put out on social media, whatever I do on a day-to-day basis, even when you take social media away from it, when I go to the shop, I know exactly what I want. I want that green tea. I want to get me a good protein meal, and that is exactly what I need. So whenever there is, I don't know, a fudge brownie on the counter, and I'm thinking, oh, that fudge brownie looks good. I've always got I've always got that intention, so I'm not distracted by that treat that's in front of me. I know it sounds so simple, but that's how I tend to live my life. So whenever it comes to, for example, management coming to me with some great opportunity, let's say for some reason or another that company is associated with a fast fashion brand, and they're not doing the best things in terms of the way that they produce their products or whatever, and it doesn't align with how I like society to be, or how I envision one day having a brand to be. I won't want to work with that, because I know what my values are and I know what aligns with me. So as much as I have the intentions that I'm setting, I also have my values as well, and I really, really do hold that to my core. Like, it's not something that I like to deviate from, because when you deviate from those things, for me, it really plays with your why, and it really can affect, in today's day and age, your mental health, because you look back and someone asks you, well, why did you do that? Oh, I did it for money. Personally for me, it's not good
So I
enough.
want to
So
dig into I want to dig into something that you said there, right? Because at this particular time of the year, entering 2024, people are starting a new chapter, and there's new desires that come to the forefront. You want a new thing, whether it's a new boyfriend, marriage, or house, or
what do you mean, boyfriend, bro?
was there's also women out there in
Oh,
the
oh,
audience.
oh, oh, because I'm not looking for a
no, I'm
boyfriend,
into
man, bro.
women, bro.
Oh. No, I'm not discriminating,
I'm
but
not
it's the way you
but I'm
said
saying,
boyfriend.
yeah, no,
bro,
but I know,
so-
you have to make sure you're inclusive these days. You get
Okay,
otherwise
fair
you get
enough. But I
teared
just
down.
want to make that clear. I'm
Uh,
single,
yeah,
but I'm straight.
Yeah. I'm not talking to you. Yeah?
I just want to make that
It's
very clear.
It's very clear. It's very clear. So what, Teddy, is whether you want a new girlfriend. I'm talking to the audience.
Oh,
there may be
okay,
some
you're
girls
speaking
out
to
there.
the audience.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
whether
felt like you were speaking to me
you.
when
No, I
you
was
said boyfriend.
100%. So as I was saying, in 2024, people have strong associations with starting a new chapter, right? And I want to dig into one thing that you said was, going to the shops and choosing that fudge brownie. And if it's okay with you, I know it's a personal thing, but you haven't always been well put together in terms of your yeah.
Yeah.
So you've had your own battle with yourself, with how you see yourself and how be comfortable with the decisions that you make. So I want you to speak to a little bit and just share, if it's okay with you, what was it like for you when you were going on that journey? Because people haven't seen that. People have only seen what Teddy looks like today, but you've also gone through your own transformation journey prior to when people discovered who Teddy Soares is,
It's
right?
so interesting you say that and you touch on that because even right now I'm going through that battle of there's a word for it. It's not I don't want to give it a label actually, so I'm not gonna give it a label. But even now, like I love my skincare routine. I love doing that. But right now I'm not putting that on social media because I'm not comfortable with the way that I look in terms of my body, which is a bit of the battle that you're talking about previously. Which, guys, I want to clear this up. The reason why I can't swim is because when I was younger, I was a lot larger. I was a big kid, and for that reason, bless my mother. My mum used to pack our PE kit, so our swim kit. Sorry, so your swim kit was packed, mine was packed. We walked to school, and suddenly, my swim kit would go missing. I would hide it in the cloakroom. All the kids have got their swim kit apart from Teddy Soares. So my mum would always get these letters at home saying, well, your kid doesn't have his swim kit. What's going on? But everybody has witnessed me walk through those gates with this swim kit. So they're like, what's going on? So that's the reason why I can't swim. So I was a lot larger as a kid and I grew up and I started, taking care of my diet. I started really going to the gym, exercising a lot more, getting involved a lot more with sports as well, not just doing, when I say getting involved with sports, at the time I was kind of cleverly doing static things so I didn't have to move too much, which obviously was the reason why I was bigger because I'm not really getting that much exercise. But then I started getting involved a little bit more. Fast forward to now as an adult, um, I I just realized that I don't need to put too much value on how I look versus how I feel. If I don't feel good about a certain thing, I'm just not going to do it. Like I run quite heavily on instincts. So with the skincare thing and not feeling good about myself right now, it's actually because I'm not going to the gym that much. And the gym mentally for me, exercising, being more active, moving a lot more, has a large part to play in my psyche, not because of how it makes me look, but more so because of how it makes me feel. I feel like I can conquer the world. If I can lift 60 to 80 kg, do 8, 10 reps of that, and do that consistently, it makes me feel good. I feel like I can lift the world, even though the world is a lot more. It weighs a lot more than 80 kg. It's a mental thing. It's where I put myself. So if I don't do that consistently, it has a knock-on effect in other areas. So I think that habit for me allowed me to do things and conquer things and it really sets me up to attack my intentions. Like anything that I'm going for, if I know I've set myself this target to do this today, it's about those small wins that we always talk about behind closed doors. If I wake up in the morning, brush my teeth, do my bed, have these set routines accomplished straight away in the morning within the first hour of my day, I've won the first part of my day. If I don't do that, then, you know, arguably you can say I'm behind because I still need to do that. So if I wake up at 11 o'clock in the morning as opposed to, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, there's 3 hours where I haven't allowed myself to accomplish what I was supposed to accomplish. I think we had a conversation not too long ago around our alarm system. So when you wake up in the morning and you press snooze, you've already been defeated that day because you've allowed your alarm clock to win as opposed to you win over your alarm clock. In the sense of you feel really, really tired. You have things to do, but there's no one else, especially where I'm at now. I'm no longer in a 9 to 5. I haven't got a manager that can tell me I'm going to be fired. I'm in control of my day. So when I decide that, I'm going to just press snooze, I'm going to press snooze 5 times miraculously, then, you know, that's 5 opportunities where I could have get up and got it. I could have let's go mentality, excuse me. I could have initiated that 2-3 hours ago. And not only could I have accomplished XYZ, but there's other things that I could have also tackled. There's other challenges that I could have also tackled. But imagine you wake up at 11 o'clock in the morning and there's things that you haven't yet caught up on. And at 11 o'clock, there's other things that have now come to your table because you're behind, you're catching up, like you're scrambling basically.
You feel overwhelmed.
You're then a lot more pressured. So I think I've been there as well. I'm talking from experience. I'm not just talking from a hypothetical. I've actually played with the idea of literally trying to find my feet in the morning. And then, I've woken up at 6 o'clock this morning and I suddenly have accomplished everything within 2 hours. And now I have the rest of my day. And now something's come to my table and really I can tackle it because everything else is done.
So it's definitely good to figure out how to drive improvements in your day in such ways like that.
Setting
and I think
those intentions.
and it's also like battling. You're in a battle against yourself, right? Like you were saying, you're testing yourself against that alarm, and the moment you lose against that alarm, you're also setting the precedent for the rest of the day, as you're saying.
Exactly.
So I completely understand. But on another note, I was also just thinking about, the whole notion of starting a new chapter, right? And in this past year, retrospectively, you have done a lot of things which are aligned with starting a new chapter. And I want to just touch on some of the experiences that you experienced on your own, which is traveling. You went to Mykonos, you went to Dubai, you experienced SAS by yourself, and you explored Thailand and some of the other areas, I don't know, you might be able to speak to more. Could you tell us what was that like? And how did you go from I've never traveled anywhere on my own to I'm ready to go and explore the world by myself? Like how did that even materialize? And then take us to the place of what? Maybe that's into some nice stories.
I'm not gonna lie, I think Vikings had a lot to do with it. I was watching, I went through one series of Vikings, Blitz the second series, Blitz the third series. Now I'm watching, what's the other
Great
one?
series.
The Last Kingdom. So I went through a lot of Viking series, which was exploring the world. And I don't know whether or not that somehow had an effect on
Your subconscious.
real life and my subconscious. But I think I really, really like that period of the Vikings the exploration period of finding the world and finding the new world, even the Romans, to be fair. But that for me, that moment of us as individuals, particularly when you come out of, let's say, education, so uni, school, and you're figuring out, you're trying to navigate what's next. I think, especially when at the beginning of the year I went through the breakup, I was like, what's next? What do I do now? What do I want to do? It's weird because I'm not a believer in going into a relationship and then you lose yourself. But weirdly that happened. Like I kind of was like, what direction am I going in now? Like where do I want to go? Because I was so focused on someone else. So the idea of self-discovery and taking the plunge into actually doing it, actually saying, I'm getting on this plane, I'm going to go to Mykonos, I'm going to go and fly away, and I'm going to do that by myself. I'm not going to force anyone. I'm not going to guilt trip anyone into coming with me, taking a day off work or whatever. I'm just going to do it. Was a revelation. I remember when I was actually on the plane, and it's weird because the first moment of walking into the airport, having a conversation with the check-in desk, and just having a normal conversation was the kickstarter of, oh, I'm going through this journey by myself, and I'm now getting to know this person. Now I'm getting to know the person that sat next to me on the plane. They're also alone. They're also traveling. And it's like, oh, you're now going through something that someone else is going through. This must be normal. So you're now really just exploring life from a different lens, as opposed to looking left or right and you're with your friend, or you're with your brother, or you're with your girlfriend, or whoever you may be with. You might be with your boyfriend or whatever. So for me, I really just immersed myself in that situation, as opposed to feeling lost. I felt like, actually...
What was the first one? Was it Dubai or Mykonos? What was the first one for you?
The first one was Dubai, actually. Dubai for my birthday. I went to Dubai for my birthday.
So what was Dubai like for you?
Dubai was unbelievable. Like, it's a new world, but Dubai's got its own bubble. Dubai, I feel like a lot of people are going there and they are, they're really hungry. They really want to enjoy the fruits of being in Dubai, whilst also trying to make something of themselves if they haven't already. So I really liked Dubai. I really liked the vibe. Could I live there? Maybe not. Maybe. I don't know. I don't like to predict where I'm going to be in like the next 5 years, other than obviously my actual vision and plan. But, I wouldn't restrict living in Dubai. But if I was to sort of say, would I live there tomorrow? I'd say no. Like, there's other places I'd rather live in. But I loved it. Don't get me wrong. Like, for a moment of finding myself and finding a level of zen, peace, and exploration, especially because I went during Ramadan as well. So it wasn't a wilder version of Dubai. It was a version. It was amazing. Like, for me, I just really immersed myself in the food, the culture, the people, and just really just vibed as well. So I really enjoyed being in Dubai, and that moment of, although I went there and saw a friend of mine who he sort of showed me Dubai, I still went there. I still went there on my own. Like, I still traveled, and it was like figuring things out on my own and things like that. So and I really enjoyed that process. And I do encourage people to go places where they've never ever been, but they've always wanted to go, and just do it. Like, there's no real reason. I remember, do you know what? There was a girl in the gym at the time, and she really, it really resonated with me. And this is actually when I booked my ticket. She was like, I'm going to Paris. And I was like, oh, really? With your girlfriend? She was like, no, I'm just going on my own. I've never been to Paris. I've always wanted to go to Paris. No one can come with me, but I just was like, I'm just going to do it. So she just did it. And I just took so much inspiration from that. Like, there's no reason why you can't do things on your own. Obviously, but beyond the dangers of of like, oh my God, like, make sure you keep your stuff close and you keep your wits about you. Beyond those dangers, like it's a really liberating experience. So when I went to Dubai and Mykonos and all these places that have got so much, they've got a lot of rich culture in it. Like you can go there and experience food that you won't experience in England. You can go there and experience a sense of religion that you wouldn't have really experienced ever. So I think for me, the overarching thing of going somewhere that you don't know. You don't know Tom from Harry or anything like that. Like it was liberating.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine it would have been. You almost feel free.
Mm. Mhm.
You're in a new place, no limitations,
Especially with
no
social media as
social
well,
media.
where you've got you're in England and everyone's so obsessed with the fact that you've just broken up with someone and it's that's the only thing they want to talk about. And I'm like, look, I'm trying to get over a breakup right now. Like it's not something I want to bog myself down with right now. I'm trying to move forward. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to really, unless I personally want to go back there, I'm not trying to be in that space right now.
So
Right.
that's a great segue. You said you said that you're not trying to be in that space, and I feel like sometimes starting a new chapter is exactly that, changing your environment. Right? If you're still in the same environment, sometimes you're always going to get the same results because the systems are in place, or the people around you, or that company or organization or whatever it is that you're in doesn't support your vision.
Switch it up.
So switch it up.
Switch it up.
Switch it up.
If you feel in your gut right now, from a work point of view, from a relationship point of view, from I don't know, you could literally be living somewhere that you feel like, oh, every single time I walk outside, I don't like that. Switch it up. I feel as though too many people will go a year, 2 years, 3 years going through the same exact thought process and thinking to themselves, really don't like this.
And this makes me think
Not
about
do anything about it.
yes, not taking action, right? And if I was to link what you said with what you just said now, what you said earlier and what you started off with was setting intentions. You said setting intentions is really important for you, and intentions, in my view, are worthless without actions. And from an NLP perspective, right, there's like one of the principles that they hold true, which is that everyone has a positive intention behind that particular behavior, even if you don't believe it. They have a positive intention for themselves. So obviously, whatever that highest level of intention is, whether it's giving themselves safety or providing themselves with security or money, I'm being defensive because I don't want to be hurt by this particular thing. Just try and hold the belief that there's a positive intention for them, and that is what they're trying. They don't know how to communicate that right to you because maybe they just don't know how, but that's what they're trying to do. But what I was trying to link with what you were saying is intentions are worthless without actions, right? And you took the plunge of saying that I'm going to go to Dubai, I'm going to go to Mykonos, I'm going to try SAS, and I want to see what that's like and see how my mindset grows and what learnings I'm going to get out of it. What was the sort of things that you felt or learned when, let's say, you were in Mykonos? The new experience that you got, or the new experiences that you got from your time during the SAS journey that you can hold with you for the rest of your life. And actually, if you said to yourself that you weren't going to try that, you would have been doing yourself a disservice and you wouldn't be able to experience that thing. And you wouldn't be who you are today if you didn't do it? What are those sort of moments? Maybe let's start with Mykonos. You hadn't been to Mykonos before, but if I was just to give a little bit of context to the audience, the brand that you worked with when you were in Ibiza hit you up about an opportunity in Mykonos, and you hadn't been to Mykonos before, right? What made you say yes to that particular one? And when you were in Mykonos, what were the sort of things that you discovered about yourself? And maybe share a story or two about your time.
It's interesting because I didn't actually. When I got the opportunity to go to Mykonos, I already knew that nobody can go with me. Like, it was one of those things. It was like, damn, like no one's available to go with me. So the first thing I thought is I can't go. And then I was like, well, why the hell am I thinking that way? What kind of closed-minded thinking is that, in terms of I haven't even thought what would it be like being on my own. That was just that was an impossibility off the back. So I opened up my mind immediately.
Why was it an impossibility of you being?
Because I'd never done it before. Right. So Dubai was a kind of different example, in the sense that I'd gone to Dubai, but I was going to see one of my good friends, Nick. So I had an almost a guide in Dubai. So it wasn't like I was completely on my own, but there's moments where I was going to be on my own, right? Whereas Mykonos, I was completely on my own. I don't know anyone that's gone out there for work. You know, like people go to Mykonos, Ibiza, and they're working and they're exploring the party lifestyle, blah blah blah. Like it was nothing like that. I didn't know anyone. The brand as well that took me out there, they as well. It's not like I knew anyone from this. It wasn't the same team that was out in Ibiza. Like it's completely separate. So I'm going to a new country, new language. They speak Greek. They eat complete different. It's not like I'm getting fish and chips.
You don't eat fish and chips though.
No. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love fish, but I don't eat that kind of fish and chips. But yeah, so it was completely different, like a completely new experience. So when I was out there, I completely, even before I stepped foot in Mykonos, I understood the value when I was in the taxi going to the airport, in the airport. The whole process of traveling, the whole journey, I really appreciated my own space at that point, because there's no noise around me. I'm really just, I kind of shot off from the world within those 2 periods and was doing what I needed to do. So even when I was having, I did a few Q&As out in Mykonos, my mind felt so much clearer being on my own, because I'm not thinking. It sounds quite selfish, which I don't actually think is a bad thing, being on your own, but I really, really appreciated the space to be able to just think on my own as well. Like I've always had the ability to really appreciate what someone else wants to do, and really conform to someone else's needs, and really kind of appreciate that I'm with someone. But to actually take a beat and then do something completely and entirely for yourself.
What do you say take a beat? What was that?
As in take a beat, as in take a moment, take a pause.
Right, okay.
Well, you never heard that before?
I don't know whether the audience had, so just to clarify. What
do you think I meant, bro?
No, I don't know, because beats mean different things in different contexts.
Different people, right?
Different people, yeah.
So I just on where your mind is at. Well, I see where your mind is at right now.
No, I just have to make sure.
No, but yeah, so just take a moment to yourself to kind of really appreciate what you're going to do without deliberating with other people. Like everyone always like pulls to the side and like, what do you think about this? right? I do that with you all the time. I'm
Yeah,
like, what do you think about
absolutely.
this photo? What do you think about this opportunity? What do you think about, So to be able to be somewhere else and be reactive to your own time and space, was like that for me allowed me to really appreciate my own company. Like, and I hadn't, especially coming out of Love Island, having such a huge following, having so many people in your life, your audience is an extension of really, you and what there's a lot of eyes on you. So when you're doing your thing, you really sometimes are, some people really ignore and they don't worry about their audience. They just move and do what they do. But I think realistically, everyone is conscious of the responsibility that they have for the people that follow them. Like, I'm never going to do something that is outside of my values, because I also know that there's arguably a million odd people that understand my values, right? They understand that Teddy wouldn't do this or Teddy would do that to a certain extent, right? So for me, if I then suddenly whack out some drugs and I start doing drugs on the table, everyone's like, what the hell? Like, Teddy's lost the plot. Like, that's not that's not anything to do with him, right? So for me, when I'm in these moments when I'm on my own, it's kind of I stopped worrying about that. I stopped really thinking to myself. Overthinking is what I'm looking for. Like, I stopped overthinking certain situations. I just started really enjoying and being present and really appreciating that right now, this is something that most people don't get the opportunity to do. They always fly out with like loads of people and everyone's always in a community. Sometimes, you do go traveling, you explore, but in this situation, for me, especially being with someone for quite a while and always being in relationships and always having to worry about the next person. And I'm one of these people that likes to care about what other people do around me as well. And I like to be a people pleaser to certain extents. So to not have to worry about that was a weird place to be in, but in a positive way. Like, I enjoyed it in a nutshell. In answer to your question, I enjoyed that process.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I think a lot of people would probably relate to that. Starting a new chapter could also mean going to a place you haven't been before.
Why do you think people overthink going away and being on their own? Why do you think, actually, better question, why do you think people struggle to feel comfortable in their own company?
I think it's because we are social animals. We like to be with familiar people that we know. We like to be with our family. We like to be with our close friends. It's a
safety thing as well, right?
It's a safety thing. And as soon as you are in uncharted territory, you're also in a place where you're at risk. Yeah. If I make the wrong move here, instinctively, I'm at risk.
The vulnerability
I'm very vulnerable here. So, but by putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations, as you've done, you get stronger. You get a lot stronger. Like myself, you have had the benefit of being in front of the TV and being in front of press and being in the limelight for the best part of 2 to 3 years, right? And there could have been a lot of reasons why I could have said no to you about this. I could have said no. I could have said, I don't want to be on this podcast, because the moment I am on this podcast, I'm going to have people within my network who I don't want to have insight into my personal life. Or I could have people who I work with. I don't want them to have insight into my personal life, and I don't want them to see who I really am, what I'm really like when I'm not in my business mindset. And I could also say the number of reasons why I don't want, Mummy or Charlene to see what I'm like when we're having these candid conversations. Carlos is okay, older brother, he's okay. He's been part of all these things.
Oh yeah, he's a savage. No, I'm joking. He's a sweetheart.
I think but I flip the coin on the other side, and I see a lot of good things that come out of this. I see a lot of enjoyable conversations. I see a lot of great guests sitting on this empty chair. I see them.
Yeah, and to be honest, I also think that it's a society thing as well. Like you always I don't know if you remember this conversation, but one of our closest friends, we were talking, and we were speaking about the fact that initially whenever you introduce a girlfriend or you introduce someone new, there's always that moment when that person, depending on the individual, depending on the levels of that person's authenticity, they always put their best foot forward, right? So it's always going to be, hi, nice to meet you. Hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Yes, my name is, right? So it's like, you're always going to get that nice version of themselves. You're never going to get the moment where, when their back's against the wall, what are they like? Are they still that calm and collected, or are they the person that's, they're quite erratic and they're just completely different from that nice person that you met when their backs wasn't against the wall? Because obviously everyone's very different in certain situations. So I find that whenever we are in situations that we feel uncomfortable, we're always very quick to deflect. So it's, no, I'm not gonna go away on my own, because I've never. Why would I? When I'm sat there and I'm about to have my breakfast or my lunch or dinner, I don't really want to eat on my own. I don't want to be sat on a dinner table on my own, because people are going to be thinking, what a weirdo. But like at the end of the day, normal. Like it is actually normal. Like it's not a bad thing to be in your own company.
You decide what normal is.
You do decide. Like, it's completely up to you. But I want to kind of close this section or this segment with the idea that when you were looking at your quote, and your quote was very powerful in so much as
20 years from now, you regret the things that you didn't do.
There's so many things that so many people won't do because they are so worried with all these pressures, all these emotions, all of these things, that if you set your intentions and you want something, it's not something that you would be worried about. Like the repercussions of whether or not you fail or the thing is completely successful, it's just not going to matter, because you know that regardless, this is what I wanted to do. So I'm happy. I'm happy that I tried it. I'm grateful that I tried it, which is, I think, is a great segue into our closing tradition. Being grateful for something. And
what are you grateful for today?
What am I grateful for today? I think to be honest, right now, I'm actually grateful for all the moments in which I actually decided to do it, even though I really, really didn't want to. So I'm really, really grateful for, things like traveling, journeying, and seeing the world, even though it was going into a territory that I never ever dreamed I would be there. And I'm in a situation where I'm really, really grateful that I have these opportunities to actually go and see these places. And explore, regardless of whether or not I'm with someone or not. Because I know there's so many people that don't get the opportunity to even travel. There's some people that don't even have a passport. So I'm really, really grateful that I have the means and the ability to actually see the world. How about you, bro? What are you grateful for?
Powerful. What am I grateful for today? You know, when I woke up this morning, and so every day I kind of I try to give myself 5 to 10 minutes each morning where I just close my eyes, and like have a few moments of gratitude, and then set a few intentions. And this morning, when I started my gratitude affirmations slash process, whatever I was saying, the first thing I said to myself today was, I'm grateful for being able to have an opportunity to speak my mind and people hear what I'm like. Because I'm very, although I may come across at times quite confident, I'm also a little bit of an introvert where I just like to be that fly on a wall and hear other people speak and just be analytical about certain situations. And there isn't that. It's very rare where I'm able to speak out loud in a public space, whether it be public speaking, apart from all the presentations that I do and other things, about what am I genuinely feeling inside. And I'm grateful just to be able to explore myself. I think that's one thing I'm grateful for today.
Because it's not easy. I do want to sort of stress that as well. It's not easy to be able to look inward. So I think that's super powerful, because there's so many people that do actually find it quite comfortable to look at uncomfortable to look at themselves in the mirror and scrutinize themselves and go through the process of self-discovery, which I think it's the most powerful thing in the world, when you're able to really strip everything back. All the materialism, is that even a word, materialism?
Today's a word.
Today it's a word, right? We'll make it a word, materialism.
Luke is nodding. He said it's a word.
It's a word. We've got materialism. So just take away all of the BS that's in the world right now, all of the negativity, and just look at you versus you right now. So with that, I'm glad that you guys have tuned in today. I hope that you guys have had so much, you've taken away so much gems and had some revelations today, because I know I definitely have, and I really do appreciate you for sharing the things that you've shared today.
Thank you for sharing too.
And please do not forget, throw your quotes in the comment section. DM myself or my brother Sidney Soares with your favorite quotes, your acts of gratitude as well, so that we can add that into this podcast as well. I noticed today we didn't add your quotation today, but hopefully on the next pod we will most definitely add your quotation. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Peace. Until next time.